Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This is the English translation of the Majlis of Hazrat Maulana Qamar Uzzaman Saheb Damat Barakatuhum, which took place on Sunday night after the Taraweeh Salat at Darul Ma'arif al-Islamiyya in Kareli, Alahbadi, UP, India. So Sunday night, the 4th of Ramadan, 1444, corresponding with the English date, 25th of March, 2023. Hazrat Wala has in front of him the Kitab Al-Bunyanul Mushayyad. This Kitab here, Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab used to continuously read from it and make us listen to its discourses. Now if you look here, Hazrat Wala opens to the front page there, the first blank page of the Kitab, and then he has his writing there, this topic, certain page, this mazmoon and this article on certain page. And people used to think that where does he do it and how does he take out these articles, etc. But I used to write, every time Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab used to speak on these topics, I would write it there. In fact, if you go into my Kutub Khana, most, if not all of the kitabs have something written on the front page, meaning I went through those kitabs and whatever I liked, I made a note of it on that front page, that if I just have to open up that front page, I will go straight to that topic where I learned something new or this or that in that particular kitab. So immediately Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab used to ask, where's this here, bring that kitab, and I would bring it with the page and people would be amazed with that. But let me tell you about this also. If I used to be a bit delayed, then the consequences were disastrous, because then he would scold and reprimand in the center of that majlis. खूने दिल पीने को, लख्ते जिगर खाने को, यही ग़िज़ा मिलती है दीवाना, यही ग़िज़ा मिलती है तेरी दीवाने को. So a person has to undergo difficulties, challenges, trials, etc. for him to then achieve something. So here Hazrat Wala is reading from this particular kitab, an amazing kitab. Hazrat Taraweeh had it translated from the Arabic into the Urdu. So here it says, Maqasid-e-Shari'at ke haqaiq ka bayan, to understand the realities of the goals and objectives of the Shariat, to understand the reality of the goals and objectives of the Shariat, and the emphasis on how to achieve all of this, respect, ilm and knowledge in such a manner that those things that are incumbent, you continue to make amal on that or fulfill them. What is ilm? Ilm is to understand the reality of certain things. Shariat, and by means of the Shariat and aql, fulfill the haqq of iman. And what is this, the haqiqat of that? Zaban se iqrar karna or dil se yaqeen karna, to acknowledge it by means of the tongue and to believe in it with the heart. To believe in it with the heart. So now in the books of Aqaid, this is also a debated matter where the ulamas have difference. That what is iman? Is it only iqrar or is it tasdeeq? Is it only tasdeeq or is it iqrar as well? And then the ulama go on to say, and I mean this is the crux of it here, that this much here is confirmed, that if idha tuliba minhu, if it is demanded from him, then what should he do? Then at that time there he should make iqrar and bring it onto his tongue. Be regular with the ahkam of Islam. And what is Islam? Listen to this definition here. Shariat ki pervi, to follow the Shariat, and तकाजा ए तबीयत से बेरुखी करने का, and to turn away from the demands of the ego and the self. Thereafter the author goes on to say, Sachi marifat hasil karo, that acquire genuine recognition of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is by means of the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah ta'ala ko wahdaniyat ke zariye se pehchano. Understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by means of His oneness. Understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be one in His being and to be unique and alone in His qualities. Understand Him to have no match. And make Allah your goal, your objective, your matloob and your maqsood. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be the genuine doer. Whatever we see happening here and there, it is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is the genuine doer there. Niyat ko pak karo. Make your intention pure. And what is the reality of that? If something, what's the meaning of that? If something then comes and pours into your heart, then nobody must know about that there other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We carry on to the next point, and that is that of adab and respect. Adab ko pukhta or kamil karo. Make respect and your adab, your etiquettes, your adab, make that firm and complete. And what's the reality of that? Or let us go deeper into that. Keep everything in its place. Keep everything in its place. Har cheez ko uska mauka mein rakhna hai. Keep it at its time. So Hazrat Wala then quotes the famous terminology, at-turuqu kulluha adab, that this path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all and all of it is etiquettes and manners. There was a very, very great alim, and he said, for 1 year I acquired ilm and knowledge at the feet of my ustad, and the other 9 years I learned adab from him. I learned adab from him. Allahu Akbar. Waaz mein ikhtisar ki riayat karo, and in your discourses keep in mind that it should be concise. Hazrat Wala is saying, when I went to London, then the people told me, Hazrat, that all these people that are sitting here, it is because you finish your waaz on time. Rather, your waaz is mukhtasar. It is short. So what is waaz? वाज नाम है गफलत वालों को रास्ता बतलाने का. The waz is actually to show the path to those who are negligent. Create honesty and sachai in your love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what is true love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that mahboob ke ma siwa ko bhul jane ka, to forget everything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is true love. Dua mein adab ki puri riayat karo. In dua, keep all the etiquettes and the adab in place. How is it that you are making dua? When you are making dua, जिसकी हकीकत यह है कि अपनी हाजतों को बुलंद बारगाह जनाब बारी ताला में पेश करना. Only put your requests and your needs, only lift it to the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and nowhere else. I just came out from i'tikaf and I went to then I think it was Tankaria, the place Hazrat Wala is saying, and there seem to have been some problem. And people came with their sticks there and they took out weapons, etc. At that time, I quoted the ayat of the Quran Majid, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ, and I spoke about the akhlaq of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And I spoke about بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ, that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, I had been commissioned so that I can perfect good character, noble character. And then I said to them, Hazrat Abdul Qadir Jilani rahimahullah said, O sun, you come. O moon, you come. And let us make the wall of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam straight. So, nevertheless, what can I say about this year? Awwalan, Allah Ta'ala took this work of me, that particular place where there was debate or this or that became free now, and rather those people that were opposing, they were the first people that whenever I used to enter that village and that town, they were the first ones then to invite me, that come and have breakfast with me, come and have some tea with me, or this or that or the other. Also, just on that note now, I'm saying, Khadim-e Khas, ma ustad ye in the madrasa Hazrat Wala is saying, Mauli Abdul Majid, his wife has suddenly become quite ill. She's having difficulty in breathing, etc. So make dua for her that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants her complete and total shifa. We're speaking complete and total shifa. So let's carry on. Lift up the minar and make high the levels of tasawwuf. What is tasawwuf? Tasawwuf is to abandon your own choice and to humble yourself completely on the choice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nevertheless, Hazrat Wala spoke about Maulvi Abdul Majid and his wife being sick. Thereafter, Hazrat Wala speaks about afiyat, that what is afiyat, and Hazrat Wala goes on to say also that har che az dost mi rasad ne kost. Whatever comes from the side of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is only good and khair and barakat in it. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ, those who have intense love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hazrat Wala saying that Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Saheb used to quote this abundantly on the day of Qiyamah. Even at that time, the kafirin and the munafiqeen will make da'wah in claims of love. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will then tell them, okay, go, you are claiming to have love, go and throw yourself into the fire. And at that time also, like how in the dunya they disobeyed Allah, there also they would disobey Allah. Then is instantaneously Allah Ta'ala will turn to the mu'mineen and tell them that go and jump into the fire of Jahannam. They will immediately go and throw themselves headlong into the fire of Jahannam, just as they would obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this world. And then at that time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will address the fire of Jahannam. قُلْنَا يَا نَارُ كُونِي بَرْدًا وَسَلَامًا عَلَى الْمُخْلِصِينَ. Allah Ta'ala will say, O fire, become cool and a source of peace upon the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the sincere ones. Hazrat Wala also says that Allah Ta'ala has blessed the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam tremendously, if only we can understand this. Hazrat Wala, even by means of practical example, the table that's there in front of him while he was giving his discourse on which the kitab was placed, Hazrat Wala takes his left hand and puts it flat on the desk in such a manner that the palm is facing up and the back of the hand is flat on the desk, the left hand. And then Hazrat Wala says, referring to that left hand which is on the desk there, Hazrat Wala says that this is the love of everything else. Thereafter Hazrat Wala takes his right hand and he puts his right hand on top of his left hand and saying that this is the difference between the love of everything else and the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning that the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala it should be dominant and greater than everything else in our life. So Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahib's andaz was amazing. He would address the ulama there in the gathering and say, tell me, do you even know what's the meaning of afiyat? You alim, tell me what's the meaning of afiyat? And many, even senior ulama, he would say to them that listen, you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for afiyat, but you don't even know what's the meaning of afiyat. Thereafter, he used to give the meaning of afiyat as explained by Sayyidina Ahmad Kabir al-Rifai rahimahullah ta'ala. And what was it? Saas bidune taklif ke aata rahe. That to breathe without any type of difficulty. The second point, rizq badune mashaqqat ke milta rahe. That you get rizq without any difficulty, with ease you get your rizq. Or amal salih bidune riya ke hota rahe. And that you are blessed with good actions without any type of ostentation. So this is actually the afiyat, or the most deep and holistic meaning, what we are actually asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for on a daily basis. And what is that? Just what I explained to you now, that you can breathe easily, meaning the best of health, and rizq without any difficulty, and good deeds without any show and ostentation. So what is that? That encapsulates the best of both the worlds, the dunya and the akhirat. The first two is regarding your dunya, the best of health and rizq without any difficulty. And the last one is that of ikhlas, sidq and khulus. Allahu Akbar. You know, Hazrat Maulana Mohammad Ahmad Saheb, you know, the khalwat, dar anjuman, to be in solitude even though you are in an assembly. This was the khas and special salient feature of the Mashayikh in Naqshbandiya. Khalwat dar anjuman. They're sitting amongst people, but they are directly and completely lost in the thought of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the thought, in the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even though they are sitting with everyone, their hearts are directly and completely connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hazrat Wala thereafter speaks about the incident of Hazrat Maulana Muhammad Ahmad Saheb, that he was sitting on his charpai when suddenly it caught alight and people became excited, and we said, Hazrat, it's on fire, this or that. But Hazrat continued sitting there, he didn't even move an inch. And he just turned his hand, he said, Acha? Meaning at that time he was so lost in his thought with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he was so composed, he was so filled with peace and sukoon. Allahu Akbar. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with all the sifat-e aliyah, these great and unique, beautiful characteristics and qualities. You know, everything, shikastagi, har cheez, टूटने के बाद उसकी कीमत तो कम हो जाती है. Everything upon breaking, its value is lost. However, दिल जितना टूटता है, जितना शिकस्ता है, इतना ही उसका कीमत, the heart, the more it breaks, the more lowly it becomes. That's how the value of that heart increases in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thereafter Hazrat Wala makes dua. Allahumma inna nas'aluka al-afwa wal-afiyah fi ad-din wa ad-dunya wal-akhirah. Allahumma inna nas'aluka ilman nafi'a wa rizqan. Allahumma inna nas'aluka rizqan wasi'a wa ilman nafi'a wa amalan mutaqabbala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala purify our nufus and our nafs. Allah ta'ala bless us with these beautiful high sifat, characteristics and qualities. And Allah let the winds of Iman blow upon us. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم بحرمة سيد النبي الكريم صلى الله عليه وسلم.